I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, and I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays wherever you may be across the country or around the world. We got a lot going on. NFL free agency is officially underway. Signing can't happen for a couple of days, but a lot of announced deals going on right now. So let me see if I can get off the top of my head the biggest deals that have occurred so far, in case you are wondering. Malik Willis going to be the next quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. They give him a big deal. He was the most proven commodity who was coming on the market, and he is not particularly a proven commodity. You've got Tua reportedly heading, most likely, I don't think this is official yet, to the Atlanta Falcons. There had been suggestions that the Jets might make a move, but it looks like Tua going to the Atlanta Falcons. That's not public yet, or not confirmed yet. Jalen Phillips to the Carolina Panthers. Mike Evans, and I love this signing because I think he will fit the Kyle Shanahan offense very well. You've got Mike Evans headed to the 49ers after 12 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hall of Fame career for Mike Evans, but he is headed from one side of the country to the other. Let's see. You've got, we'll get to Max Crosby, but that news broke on Friday. Kenneth Walker, big news, to the Chiefs, star running back that was the Super Bowl MVP for the Seattle Seahawks. He will have a lot of success. The Chiefs have been looking for a running back for several years now to pair along with Patrick Mahomes. Of course, Patrick Mahomes coming off the ACL tear and hopeful to be back ready to go in September. Travis Kelce has announced he's got at least one more year in him, will stay with the Kansas City Chiefs and run it back anew. And I believe that is the biggest news story so far of the immediate beginning of free agency. Biggest trade that has occurred, Max Crosby from the Raiders to the Max Crosby from the Raiders to who did Max Crosby just sign with? The Ravens. 2 first-rounders for Max Crosby to the Ravens. I put up a poll question on that. You guys can look at it. I like the trade here for the Raiders. Max Crosby, 29 years old, has had recent health-related issues. I understand why teams like the Ravens believe that they are one great player away from being able to win a championship. It's almost never true. It's almost never true that you are one player away from a championship. If it is true, it's typically the quarterback. So when I saw, for instance, the Rams decide, hey, we can't win a title with Jared Goff, but we feel like Matthew Stafford, we could win a title, they were right. They already won a Super Bowl. They put themselves in position to be able to win multiple Super Bowls. When you look at what Max Crosby is going to demand in terms of the salary cap dollars, and when you look at giving up 2 first-round picks for, to me, a team that it feels like has already peaked. You just fired John Harbaugh. It feels a little bit like a desperate overreach to me on behalf of the Ravens. But we will see how that plays out. If you ask me, would you rather have the 2 first-round picks that the Raiders do or give Max Crosby $140, $150 million? I would rather have the picks. We just saw a test of this a little bit with the trade that we saw. Superstar. What did the Packers give up for Micah Parsons? They gave up 2 first-rounders, right? Will somebody pull up exactly what the Packers traded for Micah Parsons and text it to me? I remember it as being 2 first-rounders. The Green Bay Packers thought, hey, we are one stud rush defensive end away from being able to win a championship, and then what happened? They weren't. They blew their lead late against the Bears and got knocked out of the playoffs, and frankly didn't look like that much different of a team than they had before. Cowboys didn't look like that much different of a team than they had before either. My point is, other than the quarterback position, there is, when you get close, this belief, and I think everybody overreaches, and you think, boy, if we just had this one more player, it would be the difference maker for us in terms of being able to win a championship. It almost never is. unless it's the quarterback. So I would rather have the draft picks than have the salary cap money that is being taken up by Max Crosby. They got 2 first rounds and defensive tackle Kenny Clark was what that trade was for Micah Parsons. So I feel like the Max Crosby trade is going to pan out in a similar way to how the Micah Parsons trade played out. Both situations, elite, big-time pass rush defensive ends, able to get to the quarterback, not knocking Micah Parsons or Max Crosby, just saying the price to me is too high. That is my take there. Is there anybody that I have not talked about that is a huge move? My Titans went and got Wan'Dale Robinson to reunite him with Brian Daboll, who he was with in the Giants, had some success there, making sure Raiders have given Linderbaum a record deal for a center. That's basically Etienne and Edwards both headed to the Saints. And I mentioned it earlier, Malik Willis to the Dolphins. I like Malik Willis. Seems like a really good dude. Congratulations, $67.5 million. I don't begrudge anybody getting their money. Doesn't feel like that's going to be the answer for the Dolphins. I'm not sure that Malik Willis is going to be better than Tua was. And that's not a shot at Malik Willis. It's just I think the Dolphins have bigger issues than who their quarterback was. I believe they're paying $99 million now to Tua for him to leave. It's not a bad consolation package. I will gladly accept $100 million to be fired by anyone from any job in America. Just for the record, I will not flee from that. Okay, couple of other stories that are out there. More significantly, there was a huge panic today. I went to bed last night and everybody was shrieking, "Oh my God, gas prices, we're never going to be able to drive in cars anymore. This is a disaster." It was over $120. It spiked. Gas prices, as I speak to you, around $93 or $94. They have come back over $25 just in the last few hours, last 8 or 10 hours. Here's my general proposition for you. Don't panic. Don't overreact. Just kick back and recognize that in reality, buy S&P 500 index funds, hold them, don't look at daily prices, and you're going to be happier. Over and over again, I reiterate it. I tell you all the time, do not panic. If you're the kind of person who panics, don't look at stock prices. Do your 401k. Don't even look it up, and you're going to be happy with the results. I'll give you an example of this. This is true. When I was at local Nashville Sports Talk Radio, I was putting my max dollars in to my 401k for 5 years, and then I also did it with Fox Sports Radio. When I was an employee, I was putting max dollars in, and then I forgot my password. I had my 401k account, and then I forgot my password. Did not look it up since 2015. I hadn't looked up my 401k in 11 years. I just looked it up last week. I'm not retiring anytime soon, but I was putting max dollars into my 401k when I was an employee. This is before. Now this gets into the weeds, but I've been self-employed for many years. And so we have our own self-employed, for those of us out there that are self-employed, you have your own ability to fund your own self-employment retirement accounts for X amount of dollars every year. So I've been focused on that for many years as someone who is self-employed. But anyway, didn't look at it. It's quintupled. From what I put in, I didn't touch it. I just bought S&P 500 index funds. I just put in the max dollars that I could out of my paychecks, and I wasn't making a lot of money at the time. And I didn't look at it for 11 years, and it's quintupled compared to what the last time I looked at it like 11 years ago. So, and that's not me being some genius, maneuvering everything perfectly, buying and selling at the absolute right times. It's just that I said I want my money in S&P 500 index funds. I'm not going to touch them. I'm not going to sell them. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to put them in, and I'm just going to let it sit there, and it is quintupled. This is what you should do. You should sit back and just buy stocks, S&P 500 index funds. Unless you're a market maven, buying individual stocks, you're likely to underperform the market. That's just the reality. Buy S&P 500 index funds, kick your feet up. Don't worry about day-to-day prices. In fact, if you can do what I did with your 401k, it's even better. Because then in a decade, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, wow, that did really well. Oh, wow. And by the way, the Dow is now up for the day. The S&P 500 got to be getting close. It's now up for the day. So they started off the day telling you, oh my God, everything's falling apart. And they didn't even make it through the day without the stock market coming back and ending up at a high. I told you to do exactly what I did. For those of you who have been longtime viewers of this program, when COVID happened and everybody panicked, March and April of 2020, you can go back and pull my stock market advice. I said, if you have money on the sideline, now is the time to invest. You're going to do really well. If you don't have money on the sideline, just leave your money there. Don't panic. Don't sell. You're going to be fine. Guess what? Go back and look at where stocks were in 2020. If you still have them 6 years later, you are sitting on a gold mine. What did I tell you last April? Last April, everybody's like, oh my God, Trump is going to do tariffs. We're going to have a recession. The economy is collapsing. I said, hold your stocks or buy them. If you bought them, you're up 40 some odd percent since last year. That's unheard of. Your average going to make 9 or 10% a year. Some years you're going to be down. Some years you're going to be up. Over a decade, over 20 years, you're going to average 9 or 10. Okay? 9 or 10% a year is a great return. And that's all you got to do is buy S&P 500 index funds. So I hope that you did not panic. As I am talking to you right now, the stock market has now gone positive. Also, you got to be smarter. We were at a 4-year low on gas prices. Gas prices, 4-year low. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it on MSNBC. They don't talk about it on CNN. They don't talk about the fact that gas was at 4-year low prices. In a week, it goes up a relatively small amount, still very affordable gas prices, and they tell you that it's the number one story in America. You've got to pay attention to when you're being manipulated based on stories. Are you going to cover the price of gas over the last 4 years? I always say they only put the stock market up on MSNBC when it's down. I've got my quad box over there. When the stock market goes up, they take it off. It's now off the screen on MSNBC. So again, stock market is up today. Everybody said, oh my God, it's going to be a panic. The stock market goes up, it goes down, it moves around quite a lot. But if you hold it and you buy and just hold on, you're going to do fantastically well over the long range. Again, you don't have to listen to me on anything else. If you just listen to me on that, then your time hanging out with me is going to be well spent. Okay, a couple of other things that are out there. I want to play a couple of these videos. MLS coach. Oh, well, first of all, before we get to that, I was at the White House on Friday. Some of you may have seen me on Fox News, the nation's most popular television network. I got to do a stand-up out in front of the White House. Very cool. I never would have believed that President Trump and Nick Saban and Urban Meyer and the presidents of so many different schools and conference commissioners and everybody else would come together and talk about how to fix college athletics. I put up a tweet. Thousands of you responded with your ideas on how best to fix college athletics. It was a heck of a day. I went up and back to D.C. on Friday. Never gets old being in the White House. I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate being able to be there in the room as the discussion was taking place. Tomorrow, I do a FS1 show. It airs on Wednesday. We usually tape it on Tuesday. I'm going to do a deep dive on how to fix college athletics once and for all. I've given you a lot of opinions, but I feel like this is something that is complicated, and a lot of people are sitting around and saying, why should Congress be involved? Well, Congress has to be involved, because the only way to fix college athletics is for college athletics to have an antitrust exemption. Otherwise, there is no solution in place. So I will talk about this. I'll give you a walkthrough of what I heard, what I learned, and what I think is significant. And we are taping that tomorrow, and it will be up on Wednesday. But at that event, President Trump came out and said the Iran war is going a 12 or a 15 on the scale of 1 to 10. This was Friday in the White House. Watch.
By the way, in Iran, we're doing very well. Somebody said, how would you score it from 0 to 10? I said, I'd give it a 12 to a 15. Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their Navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their Air Force is wiped out entirely. Think of it. They have 32 ships. All 32 are at the bottom of the ocean. Other than that, they're doing very well, Coach.
All right, we'll talk about Iran a little bit more in a sec, but when we were leaving this White House event on college athletics, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey was outside on the street, and I couldn't believe it. As we're talking, up comes autograph seekers, and SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey signing signing this. I think I put up a picture of it. You never know what is going to be out there. So there's Greg Sankey signing a bunch of different photographs outside of the White House. It's truly a wild time to be alive. I didn't even see some of this stuff. Geno Smith responded to my tweet about never getting the COVID shot. Do we have that? What did Geno Smith say? I haven't even seen that. Geno Smith had an amazingly funny response to the Wendy's, and I did retweet that. Pull this up and maybe text it to me. I haven't even seen this yet. What did Geno Smith say? You guys can see it on the screen. It's too far away for me to see. I'm reacting to this. I haven't even actually seen it. And if somebody can screenshot me or tell me what that is, I missed even seeing that. But I either thank you or I wish you agreed with me better. Let's see what we got here. The first one was get your cheese up. And then did he respond to me on the not getting a COVID shot? That was Riley Gaines. We both survived the winter of death. And I'm glad that we were both able to survive the winter of death. All right. Okay, let's just run through. Text me some of this stuff if I need to see it, and I haven't shared it myself. Let's play this. Seattle. The Sounders, I think it's the Seattle Sounders, had a player who was on Inter Miami. Am I right about all this? I'm not an MLS expert. I think Inter Miami, that is Messi's team, won the MLS Cup last year, and they all went to go visit the White House. Inter Miami did. And this loser, lunatic, absolutely grills the head coach of the Seattle Sounders about how upset he is that we had a player decide that he was going to go to the White House. Watch.
What did you make of Brian Saylor going to the White House?
Miami FC won the championship, and Ryan's part of that squad.
Was that something that he asked you about?
Of course he did. Yeah, of course he did.
And do you feel like that creates any sort of distraction?
No. Why?
I mean, the president's joking about invading Cuba in front of the...
Okay, that's a political thing. That's not, I can't speak to that. Whatever the president does, I don't follow that.
But you're not worried about him being the backdrop for that kind of statement?
No, I'm not. No.
All right. Gino did not respond to my COVID take. Much dismay there. I thought that I had missed something. That was not actually occurring. It was Gino responding to Wendy's. All right. Let's play the couple of other things that are out there that I think are significant. This is a sad story. There was a protest outside of Gracie Mansion, that is Gracie Manor, Gracie Mansion, in New York City, which is where the mayor lives. Mamdani and his wife were not there, but there was a protest saying, hey, we have to be careful. I'm paraphrasing the protest because I don't know the guys. There's like 20 people who showed up. And the idea was we have to be careful letting in too many people of different backgrounds because they are, what did I write down? Because they are trying to impact American society. Basically, Islam is trying to take over America. That was the protest. Certainly, you can protest that if you believe it. During the protest, ISIS protesters that created improvised explosive devices, IED, showed up and tried to kill people. As this left-wing guy is with a speaker screaming at the protesters about how diversity is our strength and we welcome everyone, a would-be terrorist actually uses his shoulder as a springboard to throw an IED and try to kill, as the terrorist himself said, more people than were killed in the Boston Marathon bombing. Watch this.
We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
This is a perfect distillation of toxic empathy. You have a guy there screaming that we want as many people from around the world to come to America. And while he is screaming it, a guy that he does not see behind him uses his shoulder to propel him forward so that he can throw an IED and try to kill as many people as possible. I didn't think this story was real because my general proposition is it's rare that you see someone protesting something and then counter-protesters show up and actually prove the protest original point by their behavior. In other words, this was a protest arguing that we have allowed too many potentially radical Muslim terrorists into the country. While that protest is going on, radical Muslim terrorists show up and try to kill as many people as possible by throwing IED devices. They have now been charged with crimes. Bill Malugin reported that the IED was that these guys said, one of them did, all praise due to Allah, Lord of all worlds. I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kafar. I didn't know what a kafar was. Buck says it's a disbeliever, someone who is not of the Muslim faith. This isn't a religion. This is on video. This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the prophet. We take action. Stay safe. Be hyper vigilant. We just had the shooting in Austin, now in New York City. We have had an attempted terror attack as well. As things are playing out in Iran, there are reports that Iran has tried to notify groups of would-be terrorists that may be in the United States that it's time for them to take action. So everyone just be safe and be aware of what is going on. Mamdani's wife has also liked a series of truly awful pro-Hamas October 7th, 2023 attacks. She said that people who allege they were raped were not telling the truth. She celebrated the murder of 1,200 innocent Israelis, the capture and kidnapping of 250 more people. And the Mamdani response is, my wife is not a public figure. As a general rule, I understand that. Now, she's done a couple of magazine photos, and she's also had profiles written about her. If you volunteer for that to be the case, then I think you are making yourself a public figure. That would be point one. Point two, There are certain stories that clearly make you a public figure. If you say and celebrate crimes against Jews, and you yourself, Mamdani, are the mayor of the city with the largest population of Jews in America, I think that's pretty significant. If the wife of the mayor of Atlanta had said, hey, I want as many black people killed as possible after the George Floyd riots and after the George Floyd death, do you think that might have been a big story? Do you think the media might have covered it? I think so. Okay. So there are certain opinions that are very significant, even if they are your spouse's opinion, based on what you do for a living. I would also, this is not like some middle of the road thing, right? Like, for instance, lots of couples, maybe you're one of them, have a spouse who has different political opinions on a wide variety of issues. Like, hey, what should the tax rate be in the United States? If Mamdani's wife was like, hey, the tax rate should be 50%, and Mamdani was like, let's pretend 35%, I can see that you saying, hey, you know what? You know, my wife's not a public figure. We have different perspectives on tax rates. A lot of you would say, yeah, I get it. Okay. Or on what should property taxes be? Or on, you know, what school your kids best go to. I mean, there are lots of things that spouses disagree on. I think you should agree that murdering people on a terrorist attack is a bad thing. And if your spouse does not, that's pretty significant, particularly if you yourself have been accused of harboring anti-Semitic beliefs. That would be my take on it. And the fact that all of this is going on and we have, again, terrorists in the United States, not ideal. Not ideal. Thankfully, the bomb did not go off and there was nobody who was significantly injured. I want to give credit. I hope that Australia and the United States and everyone else can solve this issue. The Iranian women's national team, and I may talk about this in greater detail on my OutKick show, refused to sing the national anthem of Iran during a recent women's soccer tournament. There are reports that as a result, Iran is threatening many of the women that are on the team and their families, and some of them are not wanting to go back to Iran because of the consequences that may follow them there. And so President Trump said, and I think it was well said, that it was important to make sure that these women were not being forced back to a country that they did not want to otherwise go to. And I want to read the latest comment here, and because I do think it is significant. And I just spoke to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of Australia concerning the Iranian national women's soccer team. He's on it. 5 have already been taken care of, that is granted asylum, and the rest are on their way. Some, however, feel they must go back because they are worried about the safety of their families, including threats to those family members if they don't return. In any event, the Prime Minister is doing a very good job having to do with this rather delicate situation. God bless Australia, President Trump. President Trump earlier said that the United States would grant asylum to any of these Iranian women's soccer players if Australia would not. All of this is well said, well done. Where's Megan Rapinoe? Where are all of these left-wing, I am woman, hear me roar, women's soccer advocates who are so anti-Trump? To my knowledge, team, correct me if I'm wrong, in the last hour or so, I haven't seen anything from Megan Rapinoe at all surrounding any of this. Feels kind of significant, particularly because we just had International Women's Day, and Jennifer Say and a lot of the people at XXXY have done a fantastic job. Full disclosure, I am an investor, not just a supporter. I am an investor in XXXY. I think they have a fantastic business, and I support everything that they do, including this video that came out. I don't know how many times this has been viewed across the entire internet, but I do know that was on Instagram, viewed millions and millions of times, and has done quite well helping to make what I think is a very compelling case. And so if you haven't already, go buy XXXY gear. I certainly try to buy it. My wife is a big fan. And if you believe that men and women are different and that the best men are not women, then and that men should not be winning women's championships, no other brand will make that argument except for them. Credit to both. A couple of other things. Did I talk about this last week? I don't remember. I bought a Tesla. I bought a Tesla because I wanted to be able to find something safe for my teenage boys. And I might have to talk about this in greater detail. I shared it on social media. The two most impressive inventions, in my opinion, of the 21st century. One, the iPhone, okay? If you think about the 21st century, and I'm talking about starting around the year 2000, the iPhone has been the most transformative invention in our lives. And I'm counting the iPhone and all of its subsidiary products, meaning things that other people copied, right? So if you don't have an iPhone, if you've got some other cell phone, basically everybody has a phone like this, right? That exists in their pocket that is everywhere. So I think the iPhone has been the most transformative invention of the 21st century. What I would suggest to all of you is you kind of could see the iPhone coming. If you had a BlackBerry, used to call it the Crackberry back in the day, you were familiar with having a device that allowed you to send emails. It was not as good as the iPhone, but a lot of you probably remember back in the day having a BlackBerry in the early 2000s, the iPhone's evolution, the fact that we were going to have handheld phones, the fact that you were going to be able to make phone calls video-wise, all of that was kind of predictable. I think that was reasonable to anticipate. What I do not know that I would have ever forecast is what I would say is the second most impressive invention of the 21st century, and one that I think may well end up being more transformative, and that was the Tesla. Self-driving Tesla in particular. Every time I'm in my car and I let it self-drive, I feel like I'm in the future. I think the permutations from self-driving vehicles have only just begun to be understood. And much like the iPhone created a whole different category of new businesses, right? Uber, for instance, could not have existed without the geo-targeting of the iPhone. Sports gambling would have been very much more difficult. You would have had to be on a land-based computer. It has created all different sorts of unique businesses as a result of the iPhone. I think the Tesla self-drive is going to do the same. Haven't been paid anything. I am a Tesla shareholder because I own S&P 500 funds. So I'm a shareholder of every big company in the country. But I have to tell you, it changed everything for me. I feel like I'm in the future. If you haven't already, you can go take a self-drive test drive for yourself. And I think you're going to be as blown away as I was. Car was $45,000. So it's not, if you're out there and you're like, hey, Clay, your car, you're super rich, like this is going to, $45,000. 1% interest, 0.99% interest for the next 8 years. Basically, anybody out there in America with a job can afford this car. And it's the best car, most impressive tech car that I've ever seen. And I believe it's going to end up surpassing the technological impact and innovation of the iPhone. And let me say something. Again, if you had a BlackBerry, the fact that the iPhone exists doesn't stun you. The fact that I can sit in my car and the car can drive me, I would not have predicted happening like this in my life. I feel like I'm in the Jetsons, and that the future is, I feel like I'm in the future right now. Okay, one last thing, and I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow. San Francisco had a celebration for the Olympics. And as the grand marshal of their parade, the city of San Francisco picked Eileen Gu. Eileen Gu won a gold medal and 2 silvers, I believe, all for China. She turned her back on the San Francisco Bay Area and the United States because she chose to represent communist China and take millions of their dollars instead of the country she grew up in. I think this is an utter indictment of San Francisco. I'm not sure any other country in the world would have a celebratory parade for an athlete that grew up in this country and decided to leave and represent another country, much less a country that is one of the top adversaries of the United States. Can you imagine, for those of you who are around my age and grew up in the 1980s, can you imagine if we had an athlete who had elected to choose to represent Russia instead of the United States, how that would have been received in this country? And can you ever imagine us having had a parade for a Russian athlete who had turned her back on the United States? We never would have done it. We wouldn't have allowed it. We wouldn't have even comprehended that such a thing could happen. So that's an utter indictment, the fact that it happened. Here's the second part. There's actually a San Francisco Bay Area gold medalist who did the exact opposite. Alyssa Liu. Her family, her father fled Arthur, Beijing, after Tiananmen Square because he was opposed to communism and because he believed in basic human rights. And he came to the United States as an asylum seeker and decided to raise his family here. And when his daughter turned into a great figure skater in 2022 in Beijing, they offered millions of dollars to his daughter to flip and decide to represent China. They refused. That is what America represents. 2 different people with Chinese families, one a father, one a mother. Eileen Gu had the opportunity to decide to do the same thing as Alyssa Liu. Instead, she turned her back on the country. She became, in my opinion, a sports traitor. Meanwhile, Alyssa Liu, same city, also won a gold medal. Why didn't San Francisco have the American who supported America and won a gold medal as the Grand Marshal of the parade instead of a girl who decided to represent China over the United States? Yet another big swing and a miss for San Francisco. Appreciate all of you. Get out there and have fantastic weeks. I'll be doing the OutKick show here soon. If it's spring break for you, as it is spring break for one of my sons, I hope that all of you have fantastic spring breaks. Good luck. By the way, shut in the shutdown. This is ridiculous. Democrat, Republican, Independent, whoever you are, pay the TSA agents. Let people get into the airports and get on their flights. Democrats are to blame. Open the government back up. I am Clay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. All of us want to get on our planes. Thank you for the TSA workers who are working. A bunch of them are big OutKick guys. I'll see you guys this week because I'm flying out. I appreciate all of you for being fans of the program. I'll see you guys tomorrow when I tape the OutKick show. It'll be up on Wednesday. See you guys then.